Round 27's buy, hold, and sell. We're going to keep it really, really simple. Imagine you have a few guys out, whether it's David Fafita, whether it's an AFB, something like that, and you can use them as a trade target if you do have any trades left for one of these 18 players. So these are the best 18 options, in my opinion, to get you either a really consistent score or have the opportunity and chance to get you a 70 plus score there as well. So I'm super confident on my top four. And then it does get pretty nuanced and fairly close in terms of the picks from there. I think you can get anyone from pick 5 all the way down to 18, and they could all get anywhere between the 35 all the way to the 80 or 90 or even 100 there, which we saw from Farnworth last week. So, I've got as the best captain this week. He's followed by Carrigan with Haas out, with Willison out. Carrigan will have to carry the load as he has done in recent weeks, and he's the closest that you can easily bank after to a 60 score. Ponga I've got next. He's above Tedesco. Comes up against similar type of quality of opponents there. They both do, and with Ponga, just with the goal kicking, I think he has the added advantage there over Tedesco, who I have at number 4. And as I said, they're the top 4 clear picks in my opinion, and guys that I think you should grab into your side if you do have any trades left. But with Tedesco, he obviously has the opportunity to go anywhere between 30 and 100, and I think it's worth that risk to go for there. When you're looking at Tarpany that comes up next on my list, I think you can pretty easily bank him for about a 50 this week, and then has opportunity to get up to the 70, 80 as well. And they obviously need to get a draw in the end, which is pretty crazy. I wonder how they're going to play this game. That's actually gonna be really fun to watch. That both of those teams actually need a draw. So I'm actually excited to see how that one plays out. And if they're gonna be going for a draw, that's also means extra time available for him there, which is really, really cool as well. And then I've got Jerome Hughes at 6. I'm tempted to have him lower, more around the fact that they don't need to win, but that's just to get a bit of a hit out for him. And him and Grant, they could easily take a bit of a rest this week. So I do have him high just because he banged out a massive score before he went on his rest, and he's had a lot of big ones this year. So we'll have to leave him up there, but tread with caution there with Jerome. Herbie Farnworth, he has the highest score in recent history, so Farnworth needs to be in this top 10, and even though he is a centre. So I've got Farnworth, and now I've got Gagai in those 2 spots. And with Farnworth, they obviously need to get a win to make sure they stay in the 8. So he'll be doing everything in his power to get that right and help his team win. So that's that for Farnworth. And then Gagai, again, hopefully a massive game for him. He's gone high 80s into a high 50s, so he deserves to be on this list. And I do have him and Farnworth just over Lucas, just because I think they have that sort of 90 plus range in them, whereas Lucas, I think that score last week will be sort of the max you can get from him, and I'm probably not expecting the same score this week, especially if you've got KPP on the bench. So there's every chance that Lucas could lose a few minutes, or something could happen where he moves to centres or something like that. So just be aware of that with Lucas. We can't have him too high just for that reason. And you might be sitting there wondering, well, wow, you haven't even mentioned Hines yet, and he comes in at number 10. I wasn't super excited with what I saw last week. It was a game that went to 30 both sides, basically. And yes, Hines had the disallowed try, which would have put him in the 50s, but he's not goal kicking, and he's hardly kicking in general play right now. So a lot of what he's going to be getting in terms of his score is going to be through the tackles and through some attacking stats and running the footy. So for him to get well into the 70s, 80s, 90s without the goal kicking, without the kicking in general play, I think is going to be really tough. And you probably won't see a 33 like last week, but somewhere in the 50s is likely, even with an attacking stat or 2. So we'll see how that one plays out. And I've got DC just behind him because I think Hines has a little bit more of a ceiling if he happened to start goal kicking again, which he was before the injury. It could work out. But with DC, we come off at 27 into a 60. He hasn't hit that massive score in about a month now, and he's just not looking like it right now. So I've got to put him at 11. And then we get into the guys that are going to be playing 9 this week. You've got Watson in there at number 12 on the list. I've got him just ahead of Grant and Little as well. I think I could probably move Little ahead of Grant and potentially even to get ahead of Watson, but we'll see how that one plays out. And I think Watson has to play the full 80 between 9 and some 13 this week, and we know that he can have massive scores in that one. So I'm absolutely riding and hoping that he can hit that awesome score this week. And then I've got Grant and Little basically the same there. And we know Grant dominated in his last game as well with Jerome Hughes, and he does have some lower games in him. And then Little, you've got a very consistent player right now. 50 to 70 is kind of where you're looking at with Little, and he could easily be higher on this list, but he hasn't got that 80, 90, 100, the DCE, Hines, we saw 80 from Lucas last week, Gagai, Farnworth, they all have that massive score in them, which is what you want. You're here for potentially a little bit of boom or bust to finish your year, and I don't think Little has that 80 plus in him. I've got Preston just behind. He's getting closer to that ceiling after last week, but it's not often that we see him go back to back in terms of those massive scores. And you might be saying that with Lucas as well. But we know that if he can get plenty of ball, he's going to get those big scores. Whereas Preston does have to score a try usually to get into that sort of 70 range. But you've got Crichton as well. He's just been a little bit too inconsistent there. You picked up a 40 odd from him last week there. It was 70 odd the week before, but he needed 3 tries to get there, which these other guys aren't needing right now. And I've got Dylan Brown in there. He comes up against the Tigers, which is going to be a really fun clash there as well. And picked up a high 70 score last week, and he could easily do that again against the Tigs, but that will be a fun game, that's for sure. And then lastly, in number 18 slot, someone that hasn't been in form since his return, but it is Dylan Edwards, and we've got to slot him down there because he could easily go massive as well in this one with how things are going. And probably a little bit of a shout out to Jerome Luai, was the only sort of other one that we'll leave him in there, Luai, as a 19th spot, because he has that sort of 60, 70, 80 in him, like we saw last week with 3 try assists, and he's got up to that 90 range before, but we know that he's about a 50 average now in that 7 position. So we'll see how that one plays out. I think we'll leave our buy, hold, risk, sell at this for now. Just a very, very simple one. Most people don't have any trades, but if you do have a trade, you're picking the best one on this list, or the guy that suits you best, I think, to make sure that you get the right decision made, that's for sure. So thank you so much for being a part of all the buy, hold, sells, buy, hold, risk, sells for the year, and obviously the short version as well. Let me know if you like that short version. I might try and get it even shorter next week as well, just as a quick yes, no on certain guys. And I'm going to be creating all these lists in the private group, best captaincy, best picks for the week in ranked order, and then going to go through questions and everything like that in the private group. So yeah, stick around for that next year. I'd love to have you all in there. It grew lovely this year, over 200 people, and like to either see it the same or grow even more again. But stick around for finals fantasy. We'll get into that at the end of this week, and we'll see you in that next video a little bit later. But firstly, let's quickly get into some Supercoach now. So thank you all, fantasy crew. And now the Supercoach crew, let's get into it. I have 1 trade left, and unfortunately I held it back instead of buying Isaiah Yeo this week. And we're looking at my side here personally, and we're working out the spots that we need a player. So if you move that one in there, Fafita goes out, Curran goes in. I think we're completely fine with that. My other problem here is the front row forward position. So Sammy Hughes might have to cop that spot here. And what we're hoping for and looking for here is actually just to get the biggest score possible. So if you get rid of Isaac Tungo as a reserve, we can pop Jerome Hughes in there. But I think you need to if you've got Turbo, you need to replace them with a fullback. It's as simple as that. And Kalen Ponga is the guy this week. You've got a few other guys that did really well, but it's Tedesco, coming off a tremendous 104 again, a 3-run average of 120, almost there, 119.7. Turbo's $1 million, so you can get anyone you like here. And the average you're looking for is what you want to click through, and you're going to jump on Kalen Ponga in the end of this very, very easily. So that's where you want to be looking at. At this point, he's in there at a 78.9 average, coming off a 118 last week. And yeah, they need to win this week. So that's where they'll be going for. So I think Pong is a terrific pick there as well. If you've lost Adam Fanua-Blake this week, then you might be looking for a front row forward to round things out. And with Payne Haas out, Tarpany's the main man, clearly. And then it's getting a little bit tougher from there, isn't it? There's no one that's really sticking out, standing out there in that front row forward position. Yeah, you're looking at guys just as makeshift, to be honest with you. There's a lot of guys that could score 50 here pretty comfortably, but can they get a lot more? And guys like Max King, we know that once he gets into his work is when you can, your bread will be buttered for sure. On this one there, you got Terrell May that picked up an 86 last week, and he should be playing decent minutes this week. You got him, King, and Cotter will be the 3 guys that I'd be looking to target in that position. And in the hookers, it's clearly Little In the second row forward, if you did want to trade out for Fifita, it's 620k. It's crazy how cheap he ended up getting. We know that 122 from Crichton. That's rough. That's so rough to look at. But Crichton, you've got Isaiah Yeo, should do really well again. He's in an absolute rich vein of form. 103 is his current average. So he's the best pick right now in that second row forward position. I think Carrigan's going to have a big week. You would hope for a good week from Jaden Sewer, who's averaging 70 across his last 3. Hopefully you're looking at a try from him, and I spoke about the fantasy side, but Dylan Lucas is a very clear pick along with Jacob Preston. So there's definitely no shortage of guys that should go well this week, along with Connor Watson there in that position. And then in the halfback position, you've obviously lost Burton this week, but DCE, Hughes, Jerome Luai are all terrific picks this week, just for the singular week in that one. And then Dylan Brown against the Tigers there is perfect for that 5'8" or the half position there. So have a look at those guys. A great 103 from Johnson last week. And then Tyron Wishart's another really solid pick playing at, he's not going to be as good, I should say, given that Munster and Grant are back, but he killed it last week. That's for sure in that one. So yeah, that's that position there. And then the center wing, you're looking at Lomaxes are the big ones there, making sure you've got Garrick actually playing on your side. That would be smart, Jamie, unlike last week. But yeah, Lomax, Val, you've obviously got Herbie, had a cracker last week and he could do that again. Dane Gagai, another really solid pick. Kiraz should have a much better week this week. He does have Crichton back, but he's still named in the centers, unfortunately. And that likely puts him on the left-hand side, which we'll see without Burton how that one goes. But against Cowboys, he should be able to do pretty well. Daniel Tupou picked up 101 last week. He could do the same against the South this week. Hammer had a good one as well. So there's a few guys that you can look at this week. Dylan Lucas, you can obviously pick in the centers as well. And then Alamotti had a really solid one last week that could definitely do it again, along with Bradman Best, but he comes with that injury risk, that's for sure. So that's the Super Coach. That's the fantasy, guys. Thanks so much again for being here for the buy, hold, risk sells throughout the year. And we'll catch you for a little bit of a Q&A and also our trades or lack thereof coming into this week. It'll just be Super Coach that I do have the trade left over in. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you in that next video.